Hi everybody, welcome again to the next video about statistical sampling for the course of Statistics and Probability at Fasilkom UI. These are the references that we will be using throughout this video. So let's recall the concept of sampling. So if you were to study the habits or the behaviors of all of the new students at University of Indonesia, shown in this picture, it is virtually impossible for you to actually take data from every single one of them. So what you do is you take a subset of them and study that. But how do you select this subset of students for your study? There are 5 basic sampling methods that we will cover in this course. Random sampling, systematic sampling, stratified sampling, cluster sampling, and convenient sampling. The first one is random sampling. I bet you can guess what this means by its title. It is simply that, random. Also called the pick a name out of the hat technique, because from the entire set of possible data points, you can just choose which ones to study randomly. To help this, you can use a random number table or a random number generator. The next method is systematic sampling. As its name suggests, there is a sort of system put in place for us to do this method of sampling. So if my data were to be ordered or numbered, I would then study every nth data point for my study. Next, we have stratified sampling. Take a look at the word stratified or strata. Do you know what that means? In stratified sampling, we first divide all of our data points into some subgroups or strata. For example, in this class, I could organize you based on month of birth, year of birth, age, and so forth. Then, within each subgroup or each strata, then I would do random sampling within it. Next, we have cluster sampling. Based on its name, you can also deduce that we have to do something with a cluster of data. So in cluster sampling, we first divide the data into clusters. This division is usually done geographically, although not always. After we have our clusters, we then do random sampling to choose among the clusters. Once a cluster is selected, all of the data within one cluster is used. Please keep in mind that it is different from the previously explained stratified sampling because here a selected cluster is used in its entirety, whereas the previously described stratified sampling uses random sampling within each subgroup. Finally, we have convenient sampling. By its name, this method is very convenient. So convenient sampling is what happens when someone is standing in front of the door and gives out a survey to everyone that goes by. The data that you take is chosen based on convenience, whoever is there, whoever you can meet. This is the simplest method, however, be wary of bias because it's not very random. Based on the descriptions that we have talked about previously, we know that both cluster sampling and stratified sampling both utilize random sampling. Let's look at an example. In a class of 18 students, I would like to choose 6 to do a certain assignment. So let's look at an example. Say I had a class of 18 students and I would like to select 6 to do a certain assignment. Using random, systematic, stratified, cluster, and convenient sampling, I could select these 6 students using the methods as follows. So now we've looked at 5 different methods for statistical sampling. We have already talked about the drawbacks of convenient sampling, where bias becomes an issue. What about the other methods? What drawbacks do they have? If you were to conduct a study, what type of sampling do you think you would employ? I would like to leave you on this note for brainstorming, and this brings us to the end of this lecture. See you on the next video.